Hello, welcome back. In this video, we'll discuss the liquid crystal displays. Before we try to understand how the liquid crystal displays they work and their construction, we need to know what liquid crystals are. A liquid crystal is a thermodynamic stable phase characterized by anisotropy of properties without the existence of three-dimensional crystal lattice, generally lying in a temperature range between the solid and isotropic liquid phase. Hence, they are also called as mesophase. A liquid crystal is a thermodynamic stable phase characterized by anisotropy of properties without the existence of a three-dimensional crystal lattice, generally lying in the temperature range between the solid and isotropic liquid phase. Hence the term mesophase. So a liquid crystal is a thermodynamic stable phase characterized by anisotropy. Anisotropy means a physical property that changes depending on the direction of the measurement. So if a property changes from one direction to the other direction, then the material is said to be an anisotropic material. Liquids generally are isotropic, meaning a measurement of a physical quantity in all different possible directions will be the same. Whereas in case of some crystals, one can notice anisotropy, meaning the physical property will have different values depending on the direction of its measurement. Anisotropy of properties without the existence of three-dimensional crystal means these are an intermediate state between the crystal and the liquid. Liquids are generally isotropic. These materials, they exhibit anisotropy and they are not having three-dimensional crystal lattice. This is an intermediate phase between that of the solid and the liquid, hence they are also called as mesophases. One example for a liquid crystal is 4-methylbenzylidene 4'-butyl aniline, for short is called as MBBA. Every liquid crystal will have a long rigid rod-like structure. Along the length we have what is known as director. The molecule will have a rod-like structure. The length of the molecule is called as the director. In general, crystals they possess both positional and orientational order. But in isotropic liquids, the molecules have neither position nor orientational order and they are distributed randomly in the entire volume of the liquid. Crystals possess both the positional and orientational order. In an isotropic liquid, molecules have neither positional nor orientational order, and this kind of a non-possession of positional and orientational order makes the molecules in a liquid to move randomly within the liquid. As such, we do not have any preferential direction for the liquid. There are some materials that exhibit an additional state in between these two states of matter, that is the crystalline state and the isotropic liquid state, and these materials they possess both the order and the fluidity at the same time. These materials are called as liquid crystals. Look at this diagram. In this, we have a molecular arrangement in a solid where the positional and orientational arrangement is strictly followed, and thereby we get a crystalline solid or a solid phase. In liquid phase, we do not have orientational or periodicity in the molecules and also their position. As a result, the molecules are randomly oriented and randomly positioned within the liquid. There is another phase which is called as nematic phase, where the orientation is there between the molecules but periodicity doesn't exist. Periodicity is missing in this, but all the molecules are oriented along the say Z direction. In smectic phase, orientation with some periodicity is possible. Means a group of molecules, they are oriented in one particular direction. By and large, if you look at the entire liquid crystal, orientational order is there loosely the positional order can also be found within certain range of temperatures, and this phase is called as the liquid crystal phase. One important characteristics that makes us to visualize the liquid crystal displays is the optical modulation, or liquid crystals can modulate the light. What is modulation of light? Say you have an electromagnetic wave that is passing through a polarizer. Say this is unpolarized light. From this polarizer, we get a linearly polarized light. What is a linearly polarized light? Light that is having the electric vector oscillations confined to one particular plane. And this light, when is allowed to pass through another polarizer that is placed with some angle theta, light will come out of the second polarizer, but the intensity will be low, and the intensity can be controlled by suitably adjusting the angle between these two polarizers. A law that controls the intensity of light that comes out of the second polarizer is called as Malus law. The Malus law is used in the case of liquid crystals. They can produce the light modulation. So by suitably changing the applied electric field or magnetic field, one can change the intensity of light that gets transmitted from the liquid crystal, that can be used as a light modulator, so that the liquid crystals can be used as the light modulator. A general liquid crystal display structure will be like this: a source of light which is called as backlight. This light is covered with a diffuser, so that the intensity of light coming out of this backlight will be diffused, or it will have uniform intensity. Over that you will have a polarizer. The light coming from this particular polarizer will be a linearly polarized light. Over that you will have a glass substrate. Over the glass substrate we have the TFT. TFT means thin film transistor. The purpose of TFT is to provide the required electric bias to the liquid crystals. Over that we have pixel electrodes. Pixel is a picture element. If you have a scene like this, the picture is generated on the display panel using several small units, and each such unit is called as a pixel. A pixel is essentially a picture element. So you will have electrode to control the orientation of the liquid crystal, so that one can control the intensity of light that passes through the liquid crystals. Over the pixel electrode we have the liquid crystals, and over that we have common electrode, and over that we have the color filter. A color filter will have 3 different parts per each pixel, meaning if you have one pixel, within that you will have 3 different color pixels: red, green and blue. So this kind of a RGB color filters are used to produce a color image from the liquid crystal display. Over that we have a glass substrate, and over that we have a polarizer. These two polarizers are placed in a cross state. The polarizer following the diffuser at the bottom, and the polarizer at the top will be in cross state, meaning the angle between the plane of polarizations is 90 degrees or pi/2. So this is the structure. The light that is emitted by the source will enter the glass substrate, followed by the TFT, which is a transparent thin film transistor. Once the light enters into the TFT layer, it will move in this direction, and in this direction there is a potential difference applied between the common electrode and the pixel electrode. Due to this potential difference, a rotation of the liquid crystal molecules would take place. Depending upon the rotation of the liquid crystal molecules, the plane of polarization of the light also changes, because of which we get a linearly polarized light entering the color filters. Through these color filters, we get light in different colors. The colored light, when entered into the polarizer, then we get a relatively different intensity of light coming from the display. Depending upon the biasing voltage for each of those pixels, different colors can be seen at different locations on the display. That is how a liquid crystal display works. In this video we have seen what is a liquid crystal display. In order to understand a liquid crystal display, we have seen what a liquid crystal is. A liquid crystal is a thermodynamic stable phase characterized by anisotropy of properties without the existence of a three-dimensional crystal lattice, generally lying in the temperature range between the solid and isotropic liquid phase. Hence the term mesophase. We have seen the example for a liquid crystal MBBA. It is the structure of the liquid crystal will be like a rigid rod. Along the length of the rod will have the director. Crystals, they possess generally the positional and orientational order. Isotropic liquid molecules have neither positional nor orientational order, and because of that we'll have an isotropic liquid. So liquid crystals will have a state between the solid state and the isotropic liquid state. In the case of a liquid, we'll have random movement of the molecules in the entire possible volume. That is the reason why the physical properties that are measured in different possible directions will be the same. However, in the case of some crystals, when a physical property is measured, for instance the refractive index, it will not be same in all possible directions. So the liquid crystals, since they also have certain degree of positional and orientational order, they are likely to exhibit anisotropy. In a solid, we see that positional and orientational order exists. In a liquid, neither positional nor orientational order is existing. In a nematic phase, orientation is possible but no periodicity. The molecules are oriented in one particular direction. In smectic phase, orientation with some periodicity is present. Liquid crystals have one interesting parameter, that is they can modulate the light. The modulation of light is done using the principle called as Malus law. When unpolarized light enters into a polarizer, we get a linearly polarized light from the polarizer. If you have another polarizer whose plane of polarization is with some angle with respect to the initial polarizer, then we can change the intensity of light that is emerging from the second polarizer by suitably changing the angle between these two polarizers. The law that controls the intensity of light from the second polarizer is called as Malus law. The structure of a liquid crystal display is like this. We'll have a backlight. Over that you have a diffuser. We use a diffuser to make the light as a diffuser light. Over that you have a polarizer. This is the polarizer, and over the polarizer you have a glass substrate. Over that we have TFT, a thin film transistor array, and we have a pixel electrodes, and over that we have the liquid crystal, and over that we have common electrode and color filters to produce the colors, and we have the glass substrate. Over that we have the polarizer on the top and polarizer at the bottom. They will be in cross state, meaning the angle between them is 90 or pi by 2. So when light passes through the polarizer, it will be a linearly polarized light, and the linearly polarized light enters into the region where liquid crystals are present. One can apply a biasing between the two electrodes, that is the common electrode and the pixel electrode. Due to this biasing, each pixel on the display will have a different orientation for the liquid crystal molecules, due to which the light coming out of these pixels will be different in different possible locations. As a result, we get the display working. Thank you.